Welcome to the Retro Blood. You are all my children now.
You want to know what happens to an eyeball when it gets punctured? You got any idea how much blood jets out of a guy's neck?
You've come back to us, Michael. So you can stop the rage.
Did you know that a young boy drowned the year before those two others were killed? The counselors weren't paying any attention. They were making love while that young boy drowned. Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Get me back my head. Get me back my head. Don't be afraid.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we continue this 2-month Halloween extravaganza tour of Camp Blood, doing the whole Friday the 13th series that were made in the 80s. Brother, up next, if you like final installments that are not in final installments, if you like a book of kids or kids being booked to have sex and being killed, if you like this guy named Rob who just like shows up because his sister and he just gets killed really easy, and then if you like Jason getting a knife to the eye, this is the review for you, brother, because the Retro Blood is doing Friday the 13th, or the final one.
The final one.
The final chapter. The final
Yeah.
chapter. No more Jason. This is
no
it,
more
brother.
after this. There will never. What are we gonna do next month?
I know.
There's no more Jason.
Well, I don't know what to do now, Alison, because we booked the whole Friday the 13th series to be 2 months, and now this is the hit. Like,
Yeah.
Talk about a swerve.
Yeah, this is the last one. There's not ever gonna be another one.
I mean,
We
there's
have to figure something out, I guess.
due to our boys at Paramount, they're like, we don't want this, brother. So we're making this the final one until next year. Okay, until you know, so we don't know what's gonna happen. So, J.K. Kline, J. Alison, what's going on, Alison? How's your day going so far?
Oh, pretty good. It's pretty good. I remember a couple of weeks ago you told your story about your Taco Bell fast food run in, and I mentioned how I never go to fast food anymore because of the shitty service and how terrible it is.
Yes.
And I had a similar experience this past week too. So I wanted to bring that up to you and let you know about that. So this is what happened to me. So I tried to go to Popeyes because Popeyes is a novelty to me because we never had them here before.
Okay.
So and I like those ghost pepper wings that they have. Those are kind of cool. So I ordered online because if you don't order online at Popeyes, it takes like 45 minutes to get your food. I really don't know why it takes so long to cook anything, but it does. So I ordered it online, and then I decided to go pick it up, right? And then when I pick it up, I always just sit in the restaurant and eat it. And it was like 90 degrees, right? So it's hot as fuck outside. So I get to the Popeyes to pick it up, and the lobby's closed.
Ah.
So like the
How does that
drive-thru is
work
open,
out?
I guess. Right. The lobby's open, but the drive-thru's open, but the lobby's closed because they don't have enough people to run the lobby. Which I don't know how much more people it takes, but whatever. So I get there and I go through the drive-thru and I'm like, I got to pick up order, but to be honest with you, I don't really want to sit in my car in 90-degree weather and eat this. So can I just cancel it and just get a refund? So then I pull through the drive-thru, and then of course they can't cancel my order. But she's like, "But you can cancel it on the app." So I go through the app. I pull over to their parking spots, which luckily were open, and then I cancel it on the app, and they give me a refund for it. So like, okay, so I'm like, all right, well, fine, fuck it. I'll just go to like Zaxby's or something. I'll get a chicken sandwich. So I go to Zaxby's, which I guess is open, but you can't get into their parking lot because they've got people repainting the numbers at like noon on a Monday. Like 1 p.m. on a Monday. Like, why would you not do this after the restaurant closes?
Well, they were
why
booked.
would this not be an job. I guess they were booked to do that at the middle of the fucking day. So I'm just like, fuck it. I'm not even going to eat fast food today. So I didn't eat fast food because their service is so shitty that it just keeps me from eating it.
Bro, I'm telling you, man.
Which is actually good for me.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, technically it's good, but like, fuck, bro. It's just so shitty out there in those fast food places nowadays.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how bad service is.
You think in 1984, I bet the service is pretty good, brother.
I bet it was better than this.
You know what I mean? Like our boy Jimmy, I bet he likes Popeyes.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure he does.
I bet he got it pretty.
He looks
easy.
like a Popeyes eater.
But yeah, I mean, this one's very interesting. So I wouldn't say I forgot about this one, but I do remember liking this one more than I did watching it over again. That's for sure. But this one, yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I like it, but I remember like really liking this one in like the past. But it still is pretty good. Like so far, we really haven't had like a dud Jason movie yet.
No, not yet.
So they've been pretty strong.
We will though.
Yeah, we will. Yes, but they've been pretty strong so far. I think this is like the golden era of the Jason movies right here. Or the Friday the 13th movies. From number 1 to number 4. So
yeah,
but it has a lot of interesting facts to it too that we'll get into. But you drinking any beer right now or no?
Yeah, I'm drinking a Modelo actually.
Nice. I'm keeping the Oktoberfest over the train rolling the Oktoberfest over here doing the local Boo Gym Oktoberfest. And I was kind of disappointed though in this film because we didn't really see like any like we've been going strong of seeing like beer in every Friday the 13th movie so far, and this one I didn't see any. So I mean I know
no beer in this. There's a lot of weed.
Yeah, a lot of weed, and I know the kids they look like they were drinking in the house, but I think they were doing the red cups.
The red cup thing. Like I remember that. Like I remember doing a red cup thing. Like during high school, we'd go like and drink beer out of the red cups.
Yeah.
I say I'm drinking a Modelo, but it's actually out of my reach, and I can't reach it, so I'm gonna have to like go grab it. I think.
Hey, brother, just grab out.
Hang tight for just a second. let me get my headset off here and go grab my.
Well, I'll talk to everybody.
I'll be right back.
Because we're gonna be doing the fucking history, brother. I'll just talk to everybody now.
Talk to the people, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, buddy. Well, I'm doing the Oktoberfest. Anybody out there? Last episode I was talking about Oktoberfest. Tis the season to do the Oktoberfest. So everybody, cheers out there if you're listening to the Retro Blood. If you're drinking a beer, cheers one to you. We're avid drinkers on this show, brother. It makes the horror movies go that much more smoother. And when Alison gets back, we will do some of the history because boy, we got a little doozy over here on the history, especially when it comes to the pro wrestling side of everything. So, but the release date. Oh, you're back? You back, brother? Did you get your Modelo?
Yeah. I got to open my Modelo here.
That's good. Well, let's get
it going.
Well, just like our boy Rob, you're a little late to the party, brother.
Oh, am I? Talk about being late. Yeah, you're the one to talk about being late.
I'm always late, brother. Oh, I like that sound, brother. I like it. Anyway, we're going to be talking about April 13th, 1984.
Woo!
So we went from... So we pretty much...
Was it a Friday?
I didn't look it up, but April 13th. It probably was a Friday.
That'd be cool if this movie came out on Friday the 13th. That'd be freaking awesome.
Well, most of them do. Not all of them, but most of them do try to line it up with the Friday the 13th. We can look it up really quick. Let me go on my little calendar here. Let's see. We got to go to 1984. Let's scroll all the way back to the iPhone calendar and see what it says for April 13th, 1984, brother.
I mean, surely it came out on a Friday.
It had to. Let's see. We're almost there. All right. 1984. It's April. No, it's 85. April. Man. There we go. Yep. It was a Friday, brother. April 13th, 1984 was a Friday the 13th.
So this movie actually came out on Friday the 13th. That's amazing.
So I think a lot of them try to like line up like that. So, but let's get into the wrestling, because every retro blood we like to do the history. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I was wearing them when you were gone. This is gonna be a pretty fun story. But for people who are new to the show, every retro blood we always do talk about what's happening in the world of pro wrestling and the metal music. Why do we do that? Well, because if you're watching horror movies, 9 times out of 10 you're probably listening to some metal. You know what I mean? And then 9 times out of 10 you might be checking out a pro wrestling show. So, but on this particular episode, we're not going to be talking about an actual wrestling show, but we're going to be talking about an actual wrestling arrest. All right, some drama over here. So, 2 wrestlers that we have talked about on the show before. Okay, one being Ken Patera, who has been known to be, a very man's man wrestler, I would say. And one Mr. Saito, all right, from the Orient. Okay, they were going around a local McDonald's. So, Alison, did you ever have any trouble at the McDonald's before?
Yeah, I have all kinds of trouble with the McDonald's. I don't even go to the McDonald's anymore because there's so much trouble there. Like, it's just like it's never ending. It's like the worst of the fast food. You
know what's funny though? So I had a fast food story that I did on the podcast, and now I did it for the Jason number 2, and now you have a fast food story for this one, Jason number 4.
All right.
Yeah, it could be Friday the 13th, whatever, guys. Jason, Friday is the same shit. So, what's funny is that this is like the ultimate I get pissed off at fast food story right here. Okay.
Yeah, I can totally relate to this story, by the way.
Exactly. All right, so let me put a little scenario for everybody. All right. I believe this happened in Wisconsin. Okay.
Yep.
So this
Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Yeah, Waukesha, Wisconsin, brother. You know what I mean? Hot territory. They were working for the AWA at the time, which we have talked many times about that on the show, the AWA run by Vern Gagne. And, this is 1984. So this actually happened in April of 1984. I believe it happened a couple days before this Friday the 13th movie came out. Just maybe like a day or two before this actually happened. So probably happened, I would say, on April 10th or April 11th. So it was after a show. Okay, and like I was saying before, Ken Patera is known as like a man's man kind of wrestler, and Mr. Saito was no slouch himself. Okay, they were both pretty big guys. So the story is that they had their hotel was like a Holiday Inn. All right, and they got done with the show, and like many wrestlers do, they like to eat after the show because you get in that wrestling ring, you're probably not eating for a long period of time. Like, you don't want to eat a bunch before you go on to the match. You usually probably eat your stuff after the match or after the show's over with. That's where you have a little late night dinner. Because they don't really have traditional dinners with them. They usually just eat right after the show because you don't want to be bloated going on to the ring.
Exactly.
So they got to the local McDonald's in, what was the city called?
Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Waukesha, yeah.
Waukesha, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe
they got to the... So if we were around Wisconsin around 1984, brother, this would have been something to see. So they go to the McDonald's, and it's about midnight, and this McDonald's is closed. All right, so the story goes, and this has been reported many times through different sources, that... Ken Patera saw somebody in the window and was like, hey, can I just get some food? Whatever you guys have left, I'll buy it. And the guy at the McDonald's like, no, I can't sell you anything. We're closed. We're just closed. I'm not going to sell you nothing. And I'm not sure if the guy was being a dick, you know what I mean? Or maybe it was some fucking kid taking forever at the fucking window laughing at him. I have no idea. But our boy Ken Patera was like, that ain't working for me, brother. All right, I asked for some food. You're just laughing at me or you're doing something. I'm going to take a 30-pound brick or boulder, whatever store you read, and I'm going to chunk it through the fucking window, you brat. Right at you. So that's what he did. He got super pissed off. He couldn't eat his McDonald's, so he took a 30-pound boulder and threw it through the window. Right. That's not even the craziest part.
Right. That's not even the craziest part of the story, but yeah, I mean, they were closed. If they're closed, they're closed.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go to the Waffle House or whatever the equivalent is in Wisconsin.
Well, they probably didn't have that.
Waffle House. No, they got something like that though, surely, that
Probably
you can eat at. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of the same way. Like when we go to a wrestling show, we kind of like tend to eat after the show too.
Sometimes.
It's just like sometimes, yeah. We just like use all your energy up, and you don't want to eat a bunch before the show because you feel bloated.
Yeah.
So you just go to the show, 4 hours, 5 hours later, try to get something to eat. It's not always easy to do at 11, 12 o'clock at night.
It's true.
Definitely wasn't easy for Ken Patera, and then he decided to throw a 30-pound rock through the window.
Yeah. Brick, rock, boulder, whatever the hell it was 30 pounds. That's the only consistency to the story.
Right.
So what happens is they go back to their hotel at the Holiday Inn. All right. And the local McDonald's person was like, what the fuck's going on here? And I'm not sure if it was the person that they threw the rock at or was the manager, but somebody recognized like, hey, that's a fucking wrestler.
Right.
Like I saw that guy on the fucking TV. So they called the cops on these guys. And the cops, apparently, it was like some like 19-year-old girl who was like brand new to the force and some other guy. And they go to the wrestler's hotel room. All right. So they think it's just going to be like a normal, a disturbance at the, a disturbance at the McDonald's, normal, like, not normal, but like, okay, they're going to give him a ticket for throwing the fucking rock through the window. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
They got mad at anger. I'm going to give you a ticket. You know what I mean? Might have to do a court appearance. Not. So what happens is, though, the wrong person opens the door. Okay. So yes. Mr. Saito is, like I was saying, he's from, Japan, and he didn't speak that well of English. Okay.
Yes.
So he didn't really. So he has these two cops. He doesn't even probably. I don't know if he even knew they were cops or not. And he was like, they were like wanting to come in. He was like, no, you can't come in. Like he doesn't want them to come in. Like he doesn't know who these people are. And so the cops make their way in, and next thing you know, Mr. Saito and Ken Patera are roughing up these two cops inside their hotel room. So they're roughing up this girl, like pushing her around, and they even do like wrestling holds on them. Like they do like headlocks, they do like knees to the back and stuff. They start beating up the other cop inside their hotel room. So there's this big scuffle. And then more police show up, okay? And they were surprised to see that these wrestlers were beating the hell out of these cops. And then this one cop pulls a gun on them. And they basically, when that one cop pulls a gun on them, that's when they kind of decided to stop. And they even since then, even from then, they were kind of hesitant to stop because Patera's, you're going to pull that gun on me and shit? So they basically get arrested for this. And the story is that, like, they probably just wrestled like the next day or something, or they wrestled like, they didn't actually go to trial for this incident until like 1985. And then they did get like 2 years. Like Ken Patera was working for the WWF at the time when he went to trial for this case, and he got arrested. Okay, they both did. And it was supposed to be like almost for like, they could have got him for like 10, 15 years. Cause you're breaking property, you're roughing up police people. But apparently the story is they only got 2 years. And then next thing you know, after that, Mr. Saito goes to Japan and wrestles Inoki. All right. In some sort of like crazy, like island matchup. And then Ken Patera becomes a big baby face with Hulk Hogan. Like, it's just like so crazy to think like these guys are like roughing up people, destroying property, go to jail for 2 years. Well, we'll just make them baby faces after that, brother, because they're rebels.
Might as well. Yeah. Might as well. But yeah, I mean, but they didn't. Did he actually serve time though? Did he actually serve 2 years in jail? Yeah,
they were saying that they actually did. The thing is, from 1985 to 1987, when I was doing some research, there wasn't like a whole lot going on with them at the time. So they think that they were serving like at least 2 years in jail, okay. Which they were supposed to be like almost 15 to 10, but they got it down to 2. All right.
Right.
So, I mean, I was just going through a couple of sources when I could. I mean, they could have got I'm pretty sure they did get some like jail time, at least for the incident. You pretty much had to, because they were going pretty hard on them to try to get them convicted of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, they beat up a bunch of cops. I mean, if that hadn't happened, Like if they just been like, look, I fucked up, I'll pay for it or whatever.
Yeah,
that would have been one thing. But he beat up that cop, and one of them was like 19 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And, that's why that happened.
But it's crazy. Like afterwards, like nowadays they've been shunned, gotten felony and all this shit. They could probably even got shot by these cops. It depends what area they're in. But like it's just crazy to think like afterwards. Oh yeah, we just had a great wrestling career afterwards. Just a legendary story. It's just crazy to think.
That never really affected them much. Yeah.
Yeah, because nowadays you see that shit, you're pretty much like almost done. Especially with all the reporting that goes out now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So a pretty crazy story, I would say, in the world of the pro wrestling. So, you got any thoughts about the story?
I mean, I can relate. Like, I can understand. Like, I can understand like going to a place and spending money, or wanting to spend money and then just get really terrible service, so you just like want to throw a rock out the window. I can totally relate to that.
Get that food rage, brother. All right.
Yeah, food rage. Like I can definitely see that. Like especially like after a show and I'm hungry and I want to go eat something. Like I can see like throwing a rock through the window or taking a machete to a bunch of teenagers' heads. I can understand that.
Yeah, I can understand.
Makes perfect sense.
I mean, they were on his land that wasn't really like. I like how they changed it where it's like he doesn't just kill in Crystal Lake. He has to kill around the whole lake. The whole lake is his land. Okay.
Well, stop going to the fucking lake.
Not the Camp Blood area. Around there. Not the Camp Blood area. The whole region. It's all owned by.
Yeah, like when are these people going to learn? Just go somewhere else.
Just go somewhere else, brother. You'll be all right.
It's like you never like. I don't know. We'll talk about it when we talk about the movie, but like nobody's ever heard of these things happening.
Well, they got a party. They were booked. So
they're booked.
The end of the story, I'm pretty sure there was massive amount of cocaine being used at the time as well.
That was going to be the thing I was going to bring up. Like Mr. Saito probably didn't want them to go into the hotel room because there's an insane amounts of cocaine in
there. Has to be. I mean, that had to be part of it that they were covering or didn't. Come on now. We know that's in there because, come on. Everybody knew in the 80s, pretty much all these, not every single wrestler, obviously, but most of them, okay? They were on the good old white powder there, brother.
Yeah, and it's weird though. Like I've heard, like this may or may not be true, but I've heard that the one wrestler that I thought would be totally coked out, Hulk Hogan, was really just into weed. Yeah, like when he wasn't working, he just liked to sit on his couch, get high, and just like hang out. Really cool, chill dude.
Supposedly, you never know with Hogan though.
Supposedly, right.
So speaking of snorting some good old cocaine, we got Venom. We're going to be talking about over here when it comes to the Venom. We talked about them before. Good old thrash band.
Yep. Back on the retro blood.
Back on the retro blood, but really good thrash band. Probably like one of the early thrash bands out there. I would say that mixed in the old satanic stuff on their albums. I would say. Yeah,
they were definitely ahead of their time. They were. They supposedly invented black metal because they had a song called Black Metal, but they were definitely ahead of their time, Venom. And I'm assuming since it's 1984, you're talking about the album At War with Satan.
Yeah, buddy. At War with Satan. So this one actually had, do you know a lot about this album or no? Because I thought it was kind of interesting.
Not a lot. I don't have a lot. I know a lot about it. I'm very familiar with the title track.
Yeah.
How it's like, it's one of those things where the title track's really, really long. Like it's like 15 minutes long. But I do like how it kind of starts out with, the singer like doing that kind of like a, I guess you'd call it a scream, but it's just like, bleh! And then the song starts. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So a couple of stuff that I found was interesting about this album was, according to Venom's bass guitarist and vocalist, Kronos. All right.
Kronos.
The inspiration came from Rush's 2112 album. All right.
You mean 2112?
Yeah, 2112. What did I say? 2112?
Yeah, I can tell you're not a Rush fan, but that's all right. You don't got to be.
I mean, it's the same shit.
2112.
2112, brother. All right. Get them digits. So apparently the At War with Satan is centered on a character named Abaddon. All right. Is that the same Abaddon from the AEW that we never see?
I think it's exactly the same person.
Yeah, that makes sense. About almost 30 years later. So,
She's appeared on TV like one time.
Yeah, pretty much. So Cornelius started writing in his school days a story about how hell revolts and takes over the heavens and throws God into hell. So that was like the premise of the old this whole album right here, which is their third album, by the way, that came out on the exact date that Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final Friday, came out, brother. All right.
I think the drummer for Venom is named Abaddon as well.
Yes, yeah. So yeah. So they did a character about him, but it's also the drummer's name is Abaddon as well.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things. The title track imagery in the story largely invokes the Book of Revelations and John Milton's epic poem Paradise Lost.
Oh yes.
So we got a lot of that influence on there. So a couple of things too. So apparently, like, this was like one of their big albums at the time. So by the time At the War with Satan went on sale, Venom had reached a crossroads in their career. All right. So apparently, the critics felt that their third album should have propelled them into the heavy metal mainstream, something which failed to materialize. Venom were also being threatened by thrash metal upstarts Metallica at this time.
Oh yes.
Who apparently 2 months before At War with Satan was released, they were the opening act for Venom on the 7 Dates of Hell tour, which is supremely interesting. So, roughly a year later, Venom also took Slayer and Exodus on their North American combat tour as well, too. So, like we were saying, this Venom band, like, they were, like, I would say maybe, like, a little bit ahead of their time
for sure.
On certain things. All right, so also, too, obviously, during this particular time as well, the rise of metal's popularity in the 1980s was paralleled by the political power gain by the group, which I'm pretty sure we talked about it before, the PMRC, the Parents Music Resource Center.
Yeah, we have.
And of course, the Christian campaign against the offensive content of rock music carried out by certain political groups in America eventually crossed over to the United Kingdom. So, Venom, they're like a British band. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But of course, they would tour and do their gimmicks around here too. So Venom became one of the early victims of this, apparently. And the HMV stopped selling At War with Satan in fear of legal action because of Britain's obscurity laws. So that's one of the things that kind of halted this album on certain part of the sales. Because, back in the day, brother, in 1980, I couldn't just pick up the good old Walkman and go to Apple Music and shit like you can now. And,
right.
You can't go into the Apple Music, the Apple podcast, the Amazon podcast, or the Google podcast, or the Spotify podcast. By the way, rate and like Retro Blood on there. I like that little plug. I like that.
I like that. Yeah, it's perfect.
You
Give us a review.
Yeah, you couldn't do that in 1984. So the big, the way you make your money back is obviously doing a lot of tours and selling your gimmicks at the gimmick table.
Yeah,
but it's also like CD selling at this time, or tape selling,
tape selling. Yeah,
and of course, for a band like this, they probably had some distribution here in America because they were a pretty popular band. Obviously, they were touring with these big popular American bands like Metallica and Slayer. So stopping sales anywhere is going to harm your gimmick. It's not like it's it's probably a little bit harder back then. You know what I mean? Because to sell your stuff, if people are not selling it in the stores and stuff.
Oh well, it's a completely different world because for two reasons. For one, back then album sales made a difference. Now records sell in so small amounts that it probably doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. It's other things that make bands money, like playing live and selling T-shirts. But back then, like, you would go on tour to promote an album so that people would go buy it. And now you put out an album so you can go on tour so people will buy a ticket to see you because of streaming and things like that. So back then, if a store didn't sell your albums, that was disastrous because you just weren't going to make any money. And by comparison, like, back then, like if your album was sold 2 million copies, it was a hit, but it was like a middle of the pack hit probably, you were in the top 40, but that's probably about it, because there were albums selling millions and millions of copies. Now, if you put out an album like next week and it sold 10,000 copies, it would be a top 10 album sale right now. That's the difference. That's the difference in how records were sold in the 80s versus how they're sold now.
Yes. Very interesting. So, but pretty good album. I listened to most of it. Venom is not my favorite thrash band, but they definitely have some pretty good, some good chords, some good style songs. I definitely respect the hustle at this time, kind of like being a little different than some of the earlier bands that we would hear.
Yeah, they were definitely different, but like the things that we were gonna get. So this is 1984.
Yeah.
So this is the year that we're gonna get Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a Slayer album in 1984.
Yeah.
Ride the Lightning would have been leaps and bounds over anything Venom had done at that point.
And that's basically what I was saying at the beginning, because it's like the van. I think people are wanting more from this album, basically, like the fans and everybody's kind of wanting a little bit more, because like you were saying, like Metallica and Slayer, they're all going to be like blowing it up. You know what I mean? On their albums, especially like their third album too. So, but yeah, not too bad. We'll play a little bit at the end of the show, show some Venom some love on here. But say we get into who booked this shit, because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, who booked this shit?
So we have a new director. All right,
we do.
Miller's out of here,
not
brother.
New to us,
huh?
Joseph Zito. He's not new to us. He directed The Prowler.
Yeah. He's not new to us, brother.
Retro Blood, episode 85. It's in the archives. Listen to it. Great movie.
Brother. That is a great movie, and you can tell like some of the shots were pretty similar. You know what I mean?
That's absolutely.
But I like it when a director has like their own style and stuff.
Yes.
So, but yes, he did The Prowler and everything. So he is the man tasked to do this final chapter of Friday the 13th, brother.
Yes.
So
there'll never be another one.
There will never be another one. So here's the let's just get into the drama part of it. So
let's do it.
All y'all thinking like, because we're doing this shit in real time. All right, we're not looking about what's in the future, brother. We're happy about what's happening now, what we're reviewing.
Nah, we're no bullshit.
Yeah. So you're thinking, well, fuck. I mean, last week you said that was just a trilogy. Shouldn't we be done then?
Yeah.
Well, the thing was,
should be.
Well, hold on, guys. Okay, we said it was a trilogy. We never said the shit was ending. Okay.
No.
And that's basically what they were saying. They're like, oh, hey, okay, guys. Yeah, that's number 3, and it looked like Jason got axed to the head, but we never said it was the end. It wasn't in the title, brother. It wasn't booked.
Right.
Okay.
No, it wasn't booked. And it turns out this movie made a whole lot of money, so let's make another one and let's make a fourth one. A final one.
So, have you ever heard of this guy, Frank? I'm going to fuck up his last name. Frank Mancuso Jr.?
Mancuso, yeah. Frank Mancuso Jr. was the producer on the Friday the 13th, some of the Friday the 13th movies.
So, apparently he was a little butthurt. Okay, that Paramount, nobody gave him his credit for producing these movies. So we've heard this before. If you're a wrestling fan, you probably heard of this before, and I'll explain this. So basically, he was butthurt because he got all. The Friday movies are a big hit. Like they made a lot of money. We're doing really good with these series right now in the 80s, and it's getting pretty popular. But it's one of those things where, well, the network, it doesn't look fancy. You know what I mean? It's like the network's like, do we really want to be known for like the Jason guy? You know what I mean? And for wrestling fans, it could be the same way, because when you have a network, especially back in the days in the 90s and stuff like TNT or USA, well, we have wrestling's being our highest program, but do we really want to be known as a wrestling company? So that's what's kind of happening. So Paramount also too was... It's reported that they were, they could tell that the slasher genre was like going a little downhill. You know what I mean?
It was.
And it was to a degree, I would say. To be honest with you, it probably stopped being popular probably around this time. Around, I would say maybe like 1985, and didn't really pick up momentum until Scream came out.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on how you look at it. So there's a couple of different ways to look at it. So one thing I was going to mention about this movie is, to me, in my mind, there's like a cutoff point to where Friday the 13th was dark and scary and grimy and dirty and gruesome.
Yeah.
And part 4, final chapter, is still in that, and so is part 5. But after that, it becomes the Jason as a superhero. Jason as the unstoppable thing. The thing, when you start pulling for Jason to kill people instead of like being horrified that Jason's killing people, then there's something wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of like going to yeah. And Halloween would also go to that realm as well.
It would do the same thing. So we were getting to the point where they maybe getting popular, like more people were going to see them, but they were starting to go see them to see Jason kill people instead of getting the visceral effect of being terrified by this killer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like losing its power.
But it was also too making
it's the way I would look at it.
They were also making more characters like pawns compared to making them like characters.
Right. And this movie has a lot of that. This movie has a lot of like fake ass characters that don't seem real. When the kids in Friday the 13th Part 2 seem real. They seem like real kids. And Part 3 seems like real kids. This movie just seems like a bunch of made up bullshit kids that somebody in their 40s or 50s in 1984 would think kids would be like.
Yes, but
and I'll point some of those things out as we go.
Yes.
But yeah, it just seems like it's full of shit.
Well,
kinda.
See, that's why I like the show, because we have a little mixed view. I think that this was a little bit of both. So I agree with you that, like I was saying in the beginning, we basically had kids as pawns just show up there to have sex and get killed by Jason. That was the premise of why they were booked on this movie. But I thought they did. I thought they did actually pretty well with some of the characters, making us like them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not all of them, but some. But when you point out your point, I'll point out my point on the review.
That's fine. Yeah, we'll do a counterpoint.
We'll do a counterpoint, brother. Speaking of counterpoint, guess who they brought back? All right, they brought back our boy Tom Savini.
They did.
He did all the makeup and the gore. You could tell, definitely. So there are a couple of things about this. So obviously, Tom, he was on the original Friday the 13th. He did all the prosthetics and all the kills, and he was actually the guy who did the whole makeup of Jason. I think he's the one that recommended them having Jason on there too. So
he kind of created Jason.
Yeah. So he didn't come back for 2 or 3, but they were like, hey, do you want to come back for number 4? Do you want to kill off? Because like we were saying, this movie was supposed to kill off the Jason character, and it was supposed to kill off the series. All right.
Yeah.
So the big thing was the Paramount, they could see the trend of slasher movies not being there anymore. They don't want to be known for the horror movie network. They're like, can we get rid of this shit? And since this guy, Frank over here, since his dad owns the fucking place, just give him the rights and he'll produce the shit. We'll get it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to point out was Frank Mancuso's dad, Frank Mancuso Sr., was like one of the big executives at Paramount.
Yes. So they're like, let's just give him this movie, make the movie, get it out of there, do the final chapter, say that's going to be the end, and be good. So, and actually, it was pretty cool that the writer and the director pretty much had free range of the whole movie, how they actually wanted to book it. They just needed to have 2 things, and that's, make it the final and the title, and then kill off Jason at the end. That was their main goal of the whole movie, and then they could kind of just fill in the blanks, because we've been seeing that every Friday since number 2 has all new characters. Like we have new people all the time. I mean, fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, and I think that's gonna be a trend that we'll see supposedly in the alternative universe when we have more Jason films or something a year ago. Okay, so
maybe.
Yes. So a couple of things on here too is. So the film was originally scheduled to be released in October, but it was pushed back until like I said, April 13, 1984, upon its theatrical release. So the film grossed $303 million in the U.S. on a budget of $2.2 million. So this is still a hot franchise at the particular time, and it was the fourth most attended of the Friday the 13th series, with approximately with 9,815,700 tickets sold. So, pretty much like the fourth highest grossing Jason movie, and it's the fourth one. There you go. So let's see. Okay, so some of the stuff I wanted to talk about here.
Wait,
go ahead.
The highest, like it didn't do better than 3, did it?
No,
I mean it did better than 3, right?
Oh, I think it might have done better than 3.
Yeah, I think 3 was the one where it was like, oh, this is kind of failing.
Yeah. So, there's two people I want to talk about here too on the show. I want to highlight the actors when we can. The first one is obviously we have Tommy himself, Mr. 80s star Corey Feldman. And what's interesting about this one is they picked him because he had acting experience, and obviously he was a good child actor, Yeah. But it is interesting to see him right before the Goonies. You know what I mean? Because that was like his big movie.
Right, the Goonies was like the next year, right? And he was also in Gremlins, which came out the same year.
Yes, and of course when we first talked about Corey Feldman on the podcast is when we did the Lost Boys, because he was on there as well too. So he was all over.
A couple years later.
Yeah, I think it was like 87 when he did that movie. Mm-hmm. So he was all over the 80s, man. But this is like one of his first ones being on this. And the twist with his character, we'll talk about that when we do the review, is pretty interesting for the time period too. And I thought it was a pretty good idea that probably would have went somewhere, but you know how it is. We gotta do everything a little different. And the other guy I want to talk about is, and I always forget he's in this movie, but it's so funny seeing him because a year later he would go on to do his probably biggest movie too, which would be one Crispin Glover. That we know from Back to the Future, brother. Okay? When he played George McFly, Marty's dad on there.
So he was relatively unknown when this movie came out. Just like Kevin Bacon was. Yeah,
exactly, yes. So he was, like I said, he did a couple films before this one. Only like 2. He only did like 2, like the Racing with the Moon and My Tutor. But this is like his third movie. All right, and then, he would have 2 more, and then that's when he would get that big role in Back to the Future. And that's kind of like where he actually won his first award for Best Supporting Actor at that time as well. So that's pretty much where he made his name, but it's very interesting to see him on here. And you know what? Like, for like the character that he was on here, I actually thought he was pretty good. Like, of all the kids, you know what I mean? You could tell that this guy was like, okay, you know what? This guy might have something here. You know what I mean? He had like this like natural charisma about him that I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Crispin Glover is someone who, like I know him obviously from Back to the Future, but I think I first discovered him in this movie called At Close Range, which is a James Foley film with Christopher Walken and Sean Penn. That's really, really good. He was also in one of my favorite movies of all time, which we might end up doing on the show one day, called River's Edge. But that wouldn't be for another couple of years. Those were in 1986. So he was still like this kid who was like trying to make it as an actor. And you could tell, like, so Crispin Glover gets later on in his career, he gets this, I don't know how to describe it, but he gets like this Crispin Glover thing. Like, he always acts like himself.
Yeah.
Kind of like Jack Nicholson, not Jack Nicholson. I can't think of the actor I'm thinking of. But anyway, he kind of always like he's obviously playing a different character, but he has he plays all the different characters the same way. So he would get this weirdo, like, kind of vibe that he was always like playing Crispin Glover. Like, even in The Doors, when he played Andy Warhol, he was still being Crispin Glover. But he hadn't quite developed that yet. He was still like a kind of relatively normal person during this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, he's like one of his first movies he was doing, but I still thought he did you could see like later on, he would take some of the stuff that, like, the mannerisms that he does, he would take that to later films.
Yes.
So when it comes to like the filming conditions over here, so we were filming this around October 1983 to January 1984 in Topanga Canyon in Newhall, California.
Yep.
So, like I was saying before, it was originally supposed to be released in October of 1984, But Frank, he was like, no, it didn't work for me, brother. Let's move it to April 13th. Said leaving them only 6 weeks to complete post-production. And apparently, the only time that Paramount helped with this film's production, is when they rented a house in Malibu for the filmmakers to stay and conduct editing sessions with food brought to them by the studio. Just imagine that. They're like, all right, we don't.
So it actually came out early?
Yeah. It came out early, yeah.
So because I was thinking when you said October, they were supposed to be in October of 1983.
No, 1984.
There's no Friday. Yeah, okay. So there's no Friday the 13th movie in 1983.
Yeah.
They just skipped that year, and then so it actually came out early. Okay.
Yeah, it came out early. Yeah. So originally it was set to be released in October. You know, obviously because October season's the Friday the 13th film. Most people are more like to watch horror movies in October. But they're like, that don't work for me, brother. This is a camp. We got to get this shit. You could tell at this time, though, like they just want... Now, I wouldn't say that the filmmakers or the director, you know, Joseph or nothing. But you could tell like the company just wanted to get this shit over with. They're just like, let's release this shit. We got this guy what he wanted. Just release it. And we just want to move away from the, you know, at this time, we want to move away from the horror, or at least the Friday the 13th series, slasher. So, and we will talk about the alternative ending when we get there as well, too. But I say right now, we get into the full review of Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. This is it.
Yeah, let's do it. It's the last one. There'll never be another one.
Never be another one, supposedly.
Three times before, you have felt the terror, known the madness, lived the horror. But this is the one you've been screaming for. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Jason is back. He moves like a shadow, dark and silent.
Sorry you changed your mind?
He never utters a word. He doesn't even seem to breathe.
Where the hell's the corkscrew?
He simply, mindlessly, mercilessly kills. But now, Jason's reign of terror is over. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Jason's unlucky day.
All right, so we start off with, of course, a recap. So we're going 3 reviews strong with every review or every movie having a recap. So, and this one actually recapped like all 3. Number 1, 2, and 3. I was like, shit. And the way they did it was pretty clever. They had the old number 2 campfire scene with, you know, telling all the kids about, you know, Jason and everything. This one was basically focusing more on the Jason character and, you know, how he drowned and he came back and he was, you know, slaughtering everybody too. And I thought it was a pretty good little recap about here. I liked it when they did the townspeople on there. We can see a boy Ralph. They're doomed.
They're doomed.
So that one was pretty fun. So then this one, I like it too how they did this where we pick up right from number 3. So if y'all remember from last week, Jason got axed in the head with an axe. All right. And that's how he was gone. And then our girl Jeannie, she is just, we don't see her at all. So she just she escaped and she is just out there. We don't even bring her name up. I guess her contract ran out. So we're just not going to mention her at all in this film. Okay. She is gone.
If I seem to remember, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't really remember from last week, but it seemed like Friday Part 3 ended in the daytime, but now it's nighttime when they're all carting them all away.
Yeah. So what happened
maybe
was,
it just takes a long time.
Yeah. So what happened was she asked Jason, right? You know what I mean? Then she gets on out of there, and then she has like a little dream about, the mom bringing her down to the fucking water. It was all a dream. Okay. We already talked about that last week. How did she dream about a story she did not know about? I still don't know.
Right.
It's not brought up. But she gets on out of there, and they're like, you know what? We got a couple hours here, brother. Let's just wait around. Let's get the cops and everything. So they come out here. It's nighttime now. Okay, because that's how it's booked. And the police come down there, and you can see that they're a little worried about Jason. This crazy killer guy with the hockey mask on. They don't know what's going on, so they just take him. But they take his dead body to the morgue, the hospital morgue. All right. And you could tell, like I said, the paramedics, they're a little nervous about Jason over here. So
yeah.
Then we get the hospital scene. Okay, Here we go. So I both loved and hated this scene. I loved it because of all the corniness, and I love 80s corn. So our boy Axel, right away, he's eating some shit, and he makes a necrophilia joke. I was like, okay, I was like, okay, that's how we're starting out? Okay, I see it. Okay.
Yeah, nothing makes a good doctor more than a necrophilia joke.
Yeah, while eating shit and fucking not closing his mouth. All right. He's like, go check out the little skirt. I was like, damn, bro, really? That's
a dead body.
I just got done with a recap. All right, well, Jason's dead, and you're talking about fucking a dead corpse. Gotcha. That's how we're doing this movie. All right. So then we see nurse. Miss Morgan, okay? She's the nurse of the whole area. So our boy Axel goes up to her and was like, hey, my ship's about to end. You want to go, make it happen? Because, this is the 80s, brother. If we're not having sex or we're not trying to have sex, are you even living?
Exactly.
I mean, come on now. So our boy Axel wants to have some sex with his nurse. And I was getting I'm not going to lie, I was getting a little Halloween 2 vibes. A little bit.
Yeah, where they're messing. Yeah, there's a scene like this, exactly like this in Halloween 2.
Yes. So first she's like, no, you're the curse. You gave me headaches. She's blowing it off. And next thing you know, she comes and finds that Axel, brother. She wants some of that fucking weird Dr. Necrophilia dick.
Yep.
All right. So she goes into the cold room. That's what they call it. All right. And our boy is sitting there, like it's just so goofy, but I love it. He's in this cold room with a bunch of dead bodies everywhere, right? And he's watching aerobics videos because he's super horny.
Was that like a thing? Like people just watched aerobic videos?
It had to be, bro. Did you see what they were doing?
Or something? Like, I don't know. Like,
I know aerobics was like really popular in the 80s. You know what I mean?
It was, yeah.
Like, that was like the thing. But, it was probably one of those jokes that the writers did. Like, it's aerobics. Of course, if a guy watches aerobics, they just want to see the butts flap in the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but it had to be like a well-known joke, though, because I don't know if you've seen it, but like in the original Dragon Ball TV series, when Goku, the little kid Goku, gets to the turtle hermit's house, and he's like, he's like the pervert turtle hermit, like he's always watching girls doing aerobics on the TV.
Yeah, that was like I said, that's like an 80s 90s thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Watching guys watching aerobic girls. We all know what's about. They're not trying to get the moves down, okay? They're trying to see their asses shake in the air, brother,
right?
Okay. The problem is nowadays, we got like Pornhub and shit, so we don't need those videos anymore.
We don't need that anymore. We got Pornhub now.
Yeah, a little crazier. It's not all innocent anymore, brother. All right.
No.
So Morgan's in there. Axel gives her a little bit of a scare. You know what I mean? And then they start, our girl's trying to play it straight because you could tell, like, I really don't want to fuck this guy, but, he's like the only guy in town, so I got to, like, do something. All right. So that's where she's there. Then they start watching the news. The news is recapping what happened. You know, obviously there's this murder that happened over here with Jason killing these people. They believe it's Jason, but they're doing like a little news recap. And then Axel and Morgan start kissing a little bit, and then they get they get interrupted by the number one cock block himself, Jason. So I gotta, you know what's a very interesting theory. I just came up with this when I was watching it. So
Sweet.
Does Jason, like, I can't say he only gets pissed off at you if you're trying to have sex or not. You know what I mean? Because this movie kind of breaks that a little bit, but I thought that might have been like a very interesting like theory. It's like Jason will only get mad at you if you have sex on his campgrounds. But obviously we don't see this part because he's not on the campgrounds. But maybe some sort of like affection or sex thing just gets him all triggered. You know what I mean? Because that's what happened to him as a kid.
I was just saying it makes sense because that's why he died originally, because they were the counselors were having sex instead of like watching over him.
Yeah.
And he had to be watched over every minute, according to his mom. Yeah,
but this movie kind of breaks my theory because of what happens later. But I thought, like, at first I was like, okay, maybe that's kind of a good theory. Like, maybe, you know, somehow Jason's presence, like, I don't know, maybe gets people hot and horny or something, and so he has to cock block them. I don't know. But
I was more actually concerned about, like, is at this point in the movie, is Jason dead, or is he pretending to be dead, or is he just unconscious from being axed in the head, or what's going on? Like, why is he not moving yet, and why does he all of a sudden move?
Well, what he does is he does the old Michael Myers gimmick where you do a bunch of shit to him and he's still okay. All right, so basically that's what happens. So the hand is coming up a little bit. It scares Morgan. She gets out of there. She goes to the room with all the medicine stuff. Drops the medicine on the floor. Axel's hanging out. You know what I mean? You know, watching more of his aerobics video. And then out of nowhere, Jason just leaps up and saws his fucking head off. And then twists it. So Jason is just alive. Like, we don't get an explanation how he came to life. Or so the only thing I could think of, which there's like this like short documentary, it's like a fake documentary about Jason. It's actually pretty well done.
Right.
You can find it on the Jason box sets out there, where they have like a doctor explaining, well, you know, you could survive from an axe in the head. It's been known to happen, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the fan overall theories. You know, at this particular time, Jason's not like some sort of like supernatural force. He just kind of got lucky. Maybe the hockey mask maybe took out some of the blow. So maybe it just made him pass out, but then he came back to conscience.
Well, right. That's what I've always thought about this movie, was that he trying to make it still realistic. Like, yes, so he got hit in the face with an axe, but the hockey mask stopped it from going deep enough to kill him, and it just knocked him unconscious for a little while.
Yeah. And they all just thought he was dead because, you know, this is 1980, and we don't do extended checks if you're dead. If you look dead, you're dead.
Right.
So then after this, we get a cool scene of Jason killing the nurse, Halloween style, where he picks her up and just knifes her in the stomach and stuff. So we're seeing the body counts last over here. We're getting it going, brother. We're getting that body count up. So this is when we see our main characters of this particular story. It's going to be a girl named Trish and her mom, the Jarvins, and Jarvises, yes. And we meet a little boy, Tommy, playing some video games there, brother. And I believe this is like the first time in our Friday the 13th that we had like a main kid character, I believe. Because they're all been like young adults, but we never had like a kid.
We never had a kid before, right?
Yeah. So this is the first time we're getting the kids on here now. So, you know, they have a lake house. Okay, just like our people from earlier. Number 3 had a lake house. Now they have a lake house out here too. So, you know, this is a big lake, brother. It covers a lot of ground.
Yeah. It does. So now think about this for a second. Now think about the big picture, like we're having to watching these all in a row.
Yeah.
So part 2 is 5 years after the first movie. Okay, that's fine. I can accept that.
Yeah.
So then he kills all these people at this other camp, not the camp that he died at, but this other camp.
Yeah.
And then in part 3, these other kids move into a house, which just happens to be on the same lake. And he also kills those people like the next day, right? Like 1 day later. So now, yes, it's like 1 day later. So now we're 2 days later.
Yeah.
And these other family just also happens to move into the lake.
Well, they're not moving in. They've probably been there. Maybe they've been there.
Maybe.
The only people that are moving in were these 6 random bodies moving into the house next door.
Well, that's true. You're right. That's true. We don't actually see them move in.
Yeah.
So I guess they've been there for a while.
Yeah. They've been at the lake house for a little while, brother. So they're talking about, like I was saying, these people renting out the house, and they supposedly they knew they were going to be kids. I'm not sure how old they knew everybody was going to be, but church was kind of happy to have some new faces around the town. All right. Now the question you maybe should have asked is like, okay, well, these people don't watch the news, knowing that there's some like mass murder. Well, even if they found there was a mass murder around, it was at this time it was noted that Jason, or this killer, this killer guy that I'm not sure if they even named him Jason on the news or not, but this killer guy got axed and killed, and we find out later what happens to his particular body. So,
well, yeah, no, it's not long into the movie when they read the newspaper report that his body disappeared.
Yeah, it got stolen by the morgue and some shit, or stolen from the morgue. So this is when we meet our young cast of characters. And I just want to read this little the description of all of them because I thought it was funny. So the group consists of Paul, his girlfriend Sam, Virgin Sarah, her boyfriend Virgin Sarah, her boyfriend Doug, awkward Jimmy, and a jokester named Ted. Sounds like a tour you could do with these guys.
Awkward Jimmy.
Yes, awkward Jimmy, brother. So the big thing about this is we mostly see Ted, jokester Ted, and awkward Jimmy. We mostly see them talking. And the big thing is Jimmy can't believe that Betty Lou, or was it? No. You like this one, Alison. BJ Betty. Okay.
BJ Betty.
Yeah, the easy one. He can't believe, Ted can't believe that they broke up, them and Jimmy. And Jimmy's all butthurt about it. And the whole thing about this is the jokester Ted was saying that Jimmy, he's going to go on his computer and figure out why Jimmy, why she didn't call him back is because he's a dead fuck.
Yes.
Now, Alison, do you know what a dead fuck is?
Well, I found out in this movie. It just means you're shitty in bed.
Yeah. That means you got a limp one there, brother.
Dead fuck. Yeah.
And then,
so this is kind of interesting, though. Let's pause for a second. So this is kind of interesting, though. So he does his computer, which is like a fake computer, but still. So this is like interesting, though, don't you think? Like, so before this, there's never been a mention of a computer. So this is like 1984. Probably is about the time that computers started becoming like mainstream for Americans. Like people knew what computers were. You know what I mean? Like if people had them in their homes, maybe if you had enough money. So he's and like in the script kind of talks about that when he talks about how he's like Ted's a dead fuck. He said, "Well, my computer doesn't lie."
Yeah.
Which I find like a really funny thing now with everything we know about computers.
Exactly.
30, 40 years later. But like back then, I guess computers were considered like, well, a computer can't lie. It's just a fact. If it says,
technically, there's some parts of a computer parts can't lie. But, the problem is, when we go on the internet, that's when it's sort of a little different out there.
Right. It can only give you the information that was fed to it, though. So if you give it false information, then it will report a false fact to you.
Exactly. And that's where.
But anyway, Ted is a dead fuck, and that's why BJ.
No, Jimmy is a Ted fuck. Dead fuck.
Jimmy, sorry, Jimmy. These are all stupid kids. They're all the same. I hate all these kids, by the way.
I kind of like Jimmy a little bit. I mean, he was cool. Well, wait till we get to his dance. I mean, come on now.
Well,
all right. That's coming up.
We'll get there.
So there's something I definitely want to talk about though. So we saw, and this is going to be I'm gonna debate our opinion more than the canon. All right. So we saw the grave of Pamela Voorhees, and it said 1930 to 1979. Now,
yes, first time we've ever known her first name too. She was never called Pamela before this movie.
Yes. So the couple things is we were arguing in Friday the 13th Part 2 about the timeline of the story. Yes. And we came to the conclusion that she died in 1980 and not 1979 because she states in the first movie, this is my son's birthday, which was his birthday. And we find out that Jason was born on a Friday the 13th.
Well, no, he was born on June the 13th.
Yeah, June the 13th.
But in 1980, our reasoning was that he was born on June the 13th.
Yes.
But in 1980, June the 13th was a Friday, but it was not in 1979. And if this took place in 1979, the first movie, why in the fuck would it be called Friday the 13th? It wouldn't make any sense. So it has to be on Friday the 13th, 1980. There's no other time that it could happen.
Yeah, because I pulled up this on the calendar.
Yes.
Okay. And when was it? It was June, right? Yeah. June 13th, 1980. That's a Friday. That's a Friday the 13th. We go to 1979, and a June 13th is on a Wednesday.
Yes.
So is this
now,
Wednesday
it could have
the
happened
13th?
in July.
Yeah.
Wednesday the 13th. Now, it's not called Wednesday the 13th. It's fucking Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And that's when, but Jason's birthday's not in July.
Yeah.
So it's in June.
So
exactly. It took place on Friday the 13th in June of 1980. That's when the movie takes place. Zito is just wrong when he made this. But it's not the only thing he's wrong about, and we'll get to that.
But it's canon now. Like everywhere you see, even when you're walking that documentary I was talking about, they even used the 1979 timeline of when she died.
Yeah, it's canon now, but it can't possibly be 1979.
Yeah, because we got let's look it up on the calendar, guys.
Yes,
all right.
You're right.
Like
Calendars
you said,
don't lie.
The only way it could have been if it was Jason's birthday was in July, but it wasn't. It was recorded that it was in June. So we're just saying. Okay, we're just arguing our point. So, but canon is telling us otherwise. So this is when they pass by. They're kind of lost, and we see a hitchhiker get stabbed, brother, randomly. Okay.
Yeah.
just racking up the bodies. All right. And at this particular time too, this movie is one of those ones where like we kill them really quick and then we cut away. Right. We don't linger on anything right now. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely less gory than some of the other movies.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you at the end if you like that better or not, but we'll get there.
But I do feel like when you talk about this kill, like I do feel like it is really random.
Yeah, it is really random. Well,
like Jason doesn't have any real reason to kill this hitchhiker, but he does. He's just like, fuck this hitchhiker.
Well, he's kind of delirious right now. He got an axe in the head. He's just going back to the campground. Now he's just pissed off at everybody.
That's true.
This scene was basically to show him that he's coming back to the campground.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, an axe in the head will put you in a bad mood for sure.
Yeah. So at this time, we see Tommy, Trish, Mom. They're all making tuna salad. Ugh. And then Tommy sees all the kids arriving, and Jimmy is talking about still being horny.
Yeah.
That's one of the lines he said is like, I'm so horny. I was like, okay. So Jimmy's talking about, he's going to try to have a good time on this trip and everything. And they all meet, Tommy and Trish, they all meet together. So this is when we find out that we start meeting some of our younger characters. We start building some of their characters right now. Let's talk a little about Sam and Sarah. Okay? So Sam is the character who sleeps around a lot. All right? She's known to bounce, you know what I mean? Between staffs here and there. Okay?
Yeah.
Our girl Sarah hasn't really slept with anybody yet. Okay?
Right.
So Sam is here with I believe it's God, where's his name? Paul. Sam is here with Paul. All right.
Yeah.
And Sarah's here with Doug. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have some couples over here, and of course Ted and Jimmy, they're just the tag-alongers. Okay. So the big thing is Sarah, she kind of just wants to. She thinks this might be the weekend for her finally to get some. All right.
Maybe.
So now, yeah, maybe. So Sam now is taking a shower. This is when we get the whole scene of Tommy being a young 13-year-old staring at a girl through the window naked. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, brother. If I was your age, I would be just as happy as you were, brother. That's for sure.
Yep, doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing. Mom comes in there. He acts like he's sleeping, pushes down the window. And of course, he comes back and starts staring out some more. And that's when we get, we also see Paul in there. He's about to lay some pipe down on Sam as well, too. So now we have, the two girls, Sam and Sarah. Then we have the Ted, and we basically have the whole young kids. They're just walking through the forest and shit. All right, and they just randomly meet two sets of twins out of nowhere, brother.
Well, one set of twins. They meet two twins.
Yeah, two twins. Yeah, one set of two twins. Yes, Tina and Trish. All right, and
conveniently, and two of the guys are there by themselves, so that's very convenient that this happens.
Yes, exactly. Hey, brother, that's how it goes. And you know what's pretty funny about this too is apparently the girl who played Trish, this Kimberly girl, she actually not Trish, sorry, it was the girl who played Tina. She actually auditioned for the role of Sarah. But they found out, the casting crew, like, oh, you got a twin sister? Like, yeah. It's like, okay, well, we're going to write something completely new for you guys since you have a twin. We're going to bring you in that way. All right, so you didn't get the Sarah role, but we're going to create a whole role for you because you're a twin. And your whole role, you know what we'll get to what their role was.
Yeah.
So they just randomly show up. I don't know I don't know if they were like staying on a nearby lake. I don't know if they're on here for a hike. I have no idea. But they meet the group, and they all decide to go skinny dipping together.
Yes, which I guess was like a 1980s thing. Let's just take off our clothes and go swimming in the lake.
Yeah, I was just like, because they're like, okay, we're going to go like down the lake and swim. And, you know, Jimmy and Ted are looking all like, yeah, but there's two of them, two of us. And they get to the lake, and then I don't know where this Sarah girl just like fucking just takes off all her clothes, you know, like kind of like we saw in number 2. Well, every part, pretty much.
Part 2, yes. Yeah. Part 2, yes.
Jumps in the fucking lake. Then these guys start taking off all their clothes, jump into the lake. You know, all the two twins start taking off their clothes in the lake. I'm like, fuck, is this, like you're saying, this is like an 80s thing? We just go out into the fucking, we meet strangers, just get nude. All right?
Yes.
So this is also
something missing out of today's times. I guess.
Exactly, yeah. Now they want like, you know, all this shit. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on, brother, just get naked and see what happens. So this is when Trish and Tommy, I guess, are by the lake, and their dog runs up there. Tommy now sees more naked people, girls. He's like, hell yeah. And of course, Trish brings them out of there. And everybody's like, hey, Trish, we got a party happening later. And of course, she never shows up to the fucking party.
No, because she's a prude.
Yeah. So now Tommy and Trish are leaving. Okay. And of course, like in every Friday the 13th movie, they have car trouble. So, Alison, can you explain something to me?
I'll try.
Okay. So we're at the lake, right? Crystal Lake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're at the surrounding areas of Crystal Lake, right?
Yeah.
Is there a curse on cars working in Crystal Lake?
Well, I mean, there is a curse on the lake itself, on the camp, remember?
Yes.
There's a death curse. So maybe it just affects cars not working correctly so that the killer can catch up to you.
Yeah, and even with this one, where like the car didn't really even play a big role, we still had to have it stall out. You know, even with the other movies we see, okay, the car's not working. Obviously, the final girl or the whatever is trying to get in the car, then they're probably going to get killed. All right. This one, the car didn't really play a role at all, but we still had to have some car trouble, brother. We still got to add that in. So it
allowed us to meet Rob.
Yeah. That's why I was there. That's how it was booked. So they're working on the car, and this stranger comes up. We all think it's supposed to be Jason. It's not. It's Rob. All right. And then Rob helps him out fixes the car, and they give him a ride, and you could tell that like Rob's asking some questions, but like, hey, are you guys staying here? Do you know more people that are staying here, like more kids and stuff? Like,
are there any kids?
Yeah, is there any kids out here? And they they're kind of weirded out by the questions, but not too much, because I think Trish, she has like the googly eyes for him. And he was basically saying he was out there to hunt bears. And then Tommy's the smart one, was like, you're not hunting no bears.
You're not hunting bears out here.
Yeah. No. We know that there is bears around there, because we know that from number 2. All right.
Yeah.
But can you actually, like, isn't that like illegal to hunt bears?
No.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Well, it depends. It's not, but you have to hunt bear in hunting season, which is probably not, but I don't know. I can't actually figure out what season this is supposed to take place in, because remember, like, Crystal Lake is in New Jersey, right? We established that in the first movie. So it's in New Jersey. So in one scene, they're skinny dipping in the lake. But in the next scene, they're wearing like jeans and flannel.
Well, it gets cold at nighttime, brother.
I guess it does.
All right.
But it just seems weird. Like in some scenes, they're wearing like winter clothes, like it's the fall, and in some scenes, they're like swimming naked in the water. But
that's a cold lake out there at nighttime, brother.
It is.
All right.
Damn right it is.
Speaking of going into the water, this is when we see Sarah. She's not hanging around with the group. She kind of like separated herself from the group, because she doesn't feel comfortable being naked. She's like, the virgin girl, like we said.
Right. And then, maybe that's why she's never had sex, because she,
Yeah, she won't drink beer and go skinny dipping. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
So Sarah is basically trying to get her to lighten up, so she pulls her and plays a joke on her and pulls her into the lake. So this is when we get Trish asking for Rob to come inside. Rob doesn't really kind of want to do it. Doesn't really go. He has to leave. But then Tommy's like, no, you got to come inside. I got to show you something. So Tommy shows Rob.
Not Trish.
What do you mean, Trish?
Trish is one of the twins, right?
No. Tina's Trish is the main girl.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. Yes, Trish. You're right. Trish Jarvis. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, like there's like Tina, and then there's like this other twin. All right, but so Tommy is showing Rob his horror mask
that he makes.
I was like, man, this kid's pretty good. You know what I mean? So they're already like giving this character, a lot of good tropes. Like he plays video games, he's a pretty smart-witted kid, and he makes horror mask. You know what I mean? We're building on some stuff with the kid. Foreshadowing.
Terry, that's the other twin.
Yeah, Terry. Yeah.
Tina and Terry.
And Terry,
okay.
Brother.
Yeah.
The good old teens, brother. So he's all impressed. Rob is all impressed by the mask. All right, so now we get one of my favorite scenes of the movie. So we have all the kids, including the twins, back at their little lake house. And Jimmy's like, hey, let's start some dancing over here, brother. Puts on a little record. Plays this really good 80s stock track.
Yeah.
His mother starts to dance. What a fucking great dance. Alison,
Then you find out why BJ Betty left him when you see this dance.
The dance is great. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Bro, I'm bringing that one back.
Fine. Yeah, you should bring that back.
I mean, fuck, bro. I would fucking bust a move doing this shit. You know what I mean? Looks like he's having some spasms and shit. I love it. And apparently they like wrote that into the script, because they found out that he was like known for doing that dances at clubs and shit. Probably just for like a joke or some shit. And like, we'll just add it to the movie. And they're saying they had to do a couple of takes because everybody just kept laughing at it. So then, Paul, he's over there, kissing up on Sarah and stuff. He's like, hey, hold on a second. So he like goes past Jimmy and he puts on like a slow record.
Yeah. So here's one thing I was going to bring up. So like, I just do not believe that in 1984, kids would be listening to this kind of old music. It's like an old,
slow dance song. You find
like
at the fucking
1940s.
prom.
It's not even. Yeah, it's like a 1940s song or 30s or 40s song. It's like really, really, really old music. And now there would be like hipster kids that would listen to shit like that because it's like ironic or whatever with their mustaches and their weird hats. But like back then, like I just don't think so. I just don't think that this sounds like something that somebody in their 50s, like Frank Mancuso, I don't think he was in his 50s then, but anyway, somebody older who was writing the script wrote into it.
Listen. I get what you're saying there, but I could definitely see this guy like, listen, all these bitches probably like this slow music, so I'm going to put it on there, all right, and I'm going to fucking dance slower like her like it's like the prom and some shit. You know what I mean?
Guess.
That's the only thing I could think of, because our boy, Paul, he puts on the slow track, and he doesn't get Sarah all wet and wild. He gets fucking Tina all wet and wild.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I didn't know you like that slow shit. He's like, yeah, I do, girl. And of course, Sarah gets all
this
jealous.
1940s music.
Yeah, see, if you would have told me that, I would have believed you more. Like this, like fucking random 1984 girl, just like, oh yeah, I love this slow music. All right, but hey, to each their own. Maybe she's a big slow fan and shit. So you could tell that there's some drama going on over there, brother, in this film. So during other stuff, we cut back to Trish. Sees Trish is showing Rob out, and Trish was talking about her life. Basically, the life was their dad like ran away from the mom and something like that, and they're just basically the three of them out there in the woods all together. And Rob's kind of being like a little secretive about this, and he has to go. And Trish basically saying, "Hey, you can cut back anytime and stay with us anytime," because you could tell that Trish is really liking him.
Yeah. Plus, it's clear that he's like living in the woods or whatever.
Yeah. Because he has his backpack on or hiking and stuff, yeah. So Jimmy and Ted are all talk about, and Jimmy and Ted, they're basically getting nowhere with their twins right now. You know what I mean? They're not the flirting is not working out too well for them, brother. Okay, and so Ted's making fun about Jimmy being a dead fuck, and he eventually gets caught with his hands in his pants. All right. And then randomly now the twins are chugging beer. So I guess we did get a little bit of beer, but I didn't see which beer it was. Probably a Budweiser. So now Tina, she wants to dance with Paul now. Uh-oh. We got some fucking drama. But Sam doesn't like that. Okay? So she leaves to go swim. Okay? That's how we get our young teen to go skinny dipping in the lake is from drama. All right, because she thinks if she leaves, Paul's going to follow her and they're going to have sex out there in the woods. But that doesn't really happen, does it?
No, but she's not completely wrong.
Yeah.
But one thing I was thinking about the twins, like Terry and Tina, that's her name, Terry and Tina. So like if they were like European or something.
Yeah.
Like this would kind of make sense that what they do, how they're because Europeans are not as stuck up as Americans about like nudity and sex and things like that.
Yeah.
So the girls skinny dipping would make perfect sense, and then like maybe them moving from like guy to guy might make perfect sense if they're more like open sexually or whatever.
Tina, they didn't go skinny dipping. Well, I guess they did earlier. But
earlier they did.
Yeah, Sam's the one that's skinny dipping right now.
At this point, yeah, she is at this point, yes. But just the Tina and Terry characters just seem weird. Like this whole scene seems weird, like how they just like pass all the girls around.
Yeah, well,
but it doesn't seem like it's part of their character though that we've seen up until this point.
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I could see some like American girls being a little like that. Tina wasn't really feeling Ted, wasn't feeling Jimmy, likes this Paul guy. She's like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna do my shot.
Right, and I mean, I've definitely, been around girls, we'll just leave it at this, but I've just definitely been around girls that were like that. So I know these things happen. And I'll point some things out I think that are really weird when we get to them, but yeah, so far she's going to go skinny dipping because she thinks Paul will follow her and they're gonna go fuck in the woods.
Yeah, but our boy Paul starts dancing with Tina while Ted looks on mad. Okay, and then of course now Jimmy is now making jokes at Ted, You know what I mean? And then Jimmy's actually a little mad at Ted for telling him about the dead fuck line. He doesn't like that line. Okay. So now Sam, she, like we were saying, she's out there in the woods now. She hears a noise, thinks it's Paul. Of course it's not. She's like, well, she doesn't hear Paul after a while. After she hears the noise, she's like, well, screw you, Paul. I'm going to get naked. So that's what she does.
Yeah.
Kind of like our girl, what was it, Terry from number 2? Just fucking out there in the woods, pissed off at a guy or just wants to go skinny dipping. So that's what she does. So she takes off all the clothes, goes into the hopefully not super cold water, even though they don't really care. Fog everywhere. She goes on top of the good old little raft, hangs out there for a little while, and then out of nowhere, Jason comes up from the water and stabs the girl right through the belly, and right to the back on the raft, and then we cut it. So we're doing like a lot of like jump scare kills here, like really quick, like they happen just like super quick. So we don't linger on them. So now our boy, Paul, he's feeling a little bad. Okay. So now he's like, oh, I can't do this. So he leaves Tina, and he goes search out for the lake for our girl, for our girl Sam. Finally gets up to a raft, sees her dead body, freaks on out, tries to get back onto the shore, and then Jason stabs him in the dick with a rod.
With a spear gun.
Gun, and lifts his ass up with it too, like out of the water. Pretty interesting scene there.
Yes.
I was like, damn, okay, there he goes.
Got stabbed in the dick.
Yes. So now Tina, she needs to find somebody to fuck because that's how she was booked. So now instead of, she went through Ted, doesn't like him. Paul she liked, but he left. Now it's like, oh, well, Jimmy's here. So now she asked Jimmy to dance. All right. And then Jimmy's like, well, I don't get it. Like you were liking Ted, and now you want me. She's like, yes, I like Ted at first, but now I'm with you. And I was like, who wrote this shit?
Yeah. So this gets me, right? This part gets me.
Uh-huh.
So not only was she just like, kissing Ted or whatever, she's also still wearing, or whatever. She's still wearing Ted's hat when she's fucking around with Jimmy.
That's what girls do, bro. All right. They're toxic. I seen them. All right. It's just the line. My thing was with Jimmy. He was all like, well, you were with Ted earlier. No, she wasn't. You obviously saw him fucking leave his ass for Paul. Like, you blind? So my course was on Jimmy for me. So anyway, she asked Jimmy to go upstairs, and she's going to be fucking somebody, and it's going to be Jimmy. All right? And now Jimmy's looking at Ted, and Ted's super unhappy now because he's not getting the sex. All right?
Yep.
I like my notes over here. I put like, she asked Jimmy to go upstairs. Ted looks upset. She needs sex because it was booked. Okay.
Which is true.
All right. So now, like I said, we already talked about Paul going into the water. All right. Seeing all that shit, and he gets pulled up to the air with his dick. And then, of course, this is when we hear Rob. He's hearing some noises now around his tent area. And he goes back and he sees that his gun has been broken. So apparently our boy Jason has teleported powers, or he's really fast.
Yeah.
Right? So he's just, that's what happens when you get like your head. Did you notice, Alison, when you get your head chopped with an axe, you
get faster?
You get faster, yes. It's a known fact.
That's one thing Zito said about this movie, is that he didn't want to make Jason slow and lumbering like he was in part 3.
Yeah.
He wanted him to be fast, and he wanted him to be able to chase people. Yeah. So it does make sense, but it's kind of weird to me that he would like just break the gun and leave. Like, I think that's odd. It's almost like Jason's like a Bigfoot or something.
Well, yeah. Well, it's just like, it's also interesting. And like, yeah, we knew he lived out there for like 20 years, but like, I thought he only lived in like one little area. So I guess he knows everywhere to go. Like, he knows all around the whole surrounding area.
Well, I mean, what else would he be doing for 20 years? He knows everything. He knows every area.
I don't know. Eating birds? Doesn't make sense. So now Jimmy is in Paul's room, and this is where he's going to be fucking Tina, and the bed falls. Okay.
Of course it does.
So the kids, the rest of the kids, we got Ted, we got what was it, Terry? Yeah, Ted, Terry, and we got Sarah and Doug. They're all watching like an old 50s porn. Oh.
No, this is much older than that. This movie, the movie they're watching on that projector was made in like probably the 20s at the latest.
Okay.
20s or 30s. Yeah, so it's like a silent like porn movie.
Yeah.
Which there's actually a lot more of them than you would think. Yeah. So, like now we think of like the times we live in today as like what it's sold to us by, certain people in the media and certain political parties and certain people of certain feelings about things is that we live in this heathenistic time when nobody ever did drugs before and nobody ever had sex out of marriage before. And now we live in these horrible, sinful times. No. So in the 20s and the 30s, like people fucked way more than they do now. And they did drugs way more than they do now.
Oh yeah.
And they made porn movies just the same as they do now. And this is one of the ones we're watching. Even
there was no contact, it was just like this girl like showing off her tits. But anyway, our boy Ted loves this movie. He's going crazy on it. And then Terry, she was thinking about it at first. Like she's like, okay, well, Tina's up there fucking. This couple's here. I was like, maybe I'll try this Ted out. She looks at Ted. Ted gives her a teddy bear. Says a lame joke. She's like, nah, I can't do it. It's like, nah,
after that joke.
Not for me. So now she goes up to Tina. I guess Tina and Jimmy are almost done. That was pretty quick.
Yeah.
And
because he's a dead fuck.
Yeah, he's a dead fuck. Yes, but but we'll get there. And then, so Terry decides, like, I'm gonna leave, and Tina's gonna stay. So Terry goes outside, and of course she gets stabbed by Jason right before she gets on the bike. And we don't really see the stabbing, but we see the aftermath of it. So, like I said, a lot of these kill scenes in this movie are like very quick, like super quick.
Yeah, because you don't even see her get stabbed.
Yeah. So this is also too when we see the mom. All right, she basically did nothing in this movie at all. All right, she was just there, and the power's out. She actually goes outside, tries to turn on the power, and then she supposedly gets stabbed by Jason. Even though we don't see anything, we just see a quick cut. All right, we'll remember that for later. So now we see Trish and Tommy. They're driving home. All right, and then now Sarah, Alison, and everybody. She is now ready for sex.
She is ready. Finally.
She's like, I saw this girl, Tina, just randomly take Jimmy up there. I saw this Teddy laugh. I saw this 1920s titty movie. I'm ready to go now, brother. It's time. All right. I ain't gonna get more hot than this. All right. So she's getting ready for that now, and of course, Trish and Tommy arrive home, and they can't find the mommy anywhere. All right. So now, Trish tells Tommy to stay in here, and she's gonna go look around for the mom. All right. And then Trish finds Rob's tent. All right. And then Rob tries to like slash through the tent. All right. We think it's supposed to be Jason, but it's actually Rob. And they're like, what the hell's going on here? So I like my notes here. Jimmy finishes with sex. All right. He asks if he was a good or not, or if he was a dead fuck. So he asked the girl afterwards if he was a dead fuck, and she called him incredible, brother. There you go.
Incredible.
Our boy Jimmy, he got a staff on there, brother. He took the best 2 minutes of that girl's life. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Made it happen. So, and then now. She goes to, I guess, the restroom, and now Jimmy goes downstairs, and he gives Ted Tina's panties, and she says, I was incredible. I'm not a dead fuck. Ha ha ha. Okay.
Ha ha ha.
So, and of course, he's all feeling good. He's feeling good about himself. So now we see Jimmy. He's feeling good about himself, and Ted basically says, like, we're gonna celebrate by drinking some wine. Okay. And like, okay, yeah, we could do that. So they go and so Jimmy's looking for the corkscrew. Hey, where's that special corkscrew? Where's it at? Where's it at? And then he eventually gets corkscrewed in the hand and axe in the face really quick.
Yep.
Super quick scene. Like, damn, okay. So this is the point. So now we're finding some backstory about our particular movie now. And the backstory is Rob is telling the story about his sister, who supposedly got killed by Jason here in the Crystal Lake. He is the brother of Sandra, and Sandra was in number 2. She was the one getting it on with our boy Jeff, the one that got stabbed in the bed. All right. So he's talking about how, a good girl she was, and this is when Jeff's saying, like, I know this guy Jason's still alive out here. And this is when we find out, like, Trish is saying, like, no, like, his body was, like, found and, he was in the morgue and stuff. He was dead. He's like, no, he's not. The body's not there anymore. She's like, yeah, it got stolen. He's like, do you think it got stolen? It didn't get stolen. They're just covering it up. He might be out here now, and I got to find the guy, And go ahead.
I was going to say, so at this point in the movie, it kind of makes you gives the impression that he's been looking for Jason for years, when his sister was only killed 2 days ago.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, how long?
No. So, well, okay, maybe. So number 2. All right, I think number 2. Yeah. So anyway, number 2, it ended, and then number 3 picked up like the very next day, right? Or like maybe like 2 days.
The next day.
Probably like a day or 2.
It was maybe at the most a day or 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
So his sister died like 3 days before this.
Yeah.
But they imply that he's like kind of been out there looking for Jason forever. Like, he's researched Jason, he's done all this shit, but his sister really only died like 2 or 3 days before.
Well, you can do a lot in the day.
Could he have done? Well, I guess so.
Maybe he just got there.
Maybe just
taking my time. But yeah, it's pretty much characters. So then they realize Tommy is all by himself at the house, so they all try to go to the house with Tommy. So this is when we see Sarah and Paul. They're all getting it on in the shower now. All right. And then, of course, Jason's around the house and he grabs a knife. All right. And we see Ted. He's playing with his teddy bear. And he's still watching the old school 20s porn. And then he goes up and tries to touch her titty from the screen. The thing that the screen stops. He looks on. He can't see past the light. He eventually gets stabbed from the back. Very quick death scene as well, too. So our boy Ted's out there as well. So Sarah and Paul, they finished. You know what I mean? Everybody's kind of quick to the draw over here. Paul said he's in heaven now. And, of course, Sarah's like, I think I might be in love. And he's like, what? He's like, oh, nothing. I was like,
oh, nothing.
I was like, guys definitely wrote this. That is for sure.
Yeah, you can tell.
So Sarah just goes and like dries her hair, and Doug's like singing in the shower, right? And then the lights go off, and she thinks it's gonna be round number 2, and of course Jason comes through the shower and grabs his face and crushes it through the door. Sarah goes back to see him. Then she eventually sees his dead head hanging out of the fucking shower. She freaks out. She tries to leave, but then she gets axed through the door. So Jason killed Doug, ran all the way outside because she I could see that. Maybe he ran all the way outside, knew she was going to run down the stairs. But how did he's so powerful that he could take an axe and an axe through the door onto her chest.
Yeah, and kill her. Yeah.
Kill her. So not only I could see maybe, I was out there for like 20-something years, maybe did some axe throwing on his own. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely someone who's never tried to use an axe before.
But this axe went right through the fucking door, though, and then killed her. I was like, damn, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, no. Like, I mean, I use an axe. I use an axe to cut my firewood.
Yeah.
Axes are actually kind of hard to use. So, like, I mean, some doors are hollow. Like, they're not solid doors. So, I mean, I guess maybe you could do that, but I'm pretty sure that if you try to stick an axe through even a hollow door, like an inner door, it would still stick in the door.
Yeah.
And you have to pull it back out and then push it back through again.
So we got.
But it makes the movie look better, I guess.
Yeah. So we get Trish and Rob. They're back to the house. You know, they were worried about Tommy. He's okay. You know, they decided to go look. You know, they want to go next door to see what's going on, see if anything's going on next door. So they tell, not only did they break it, I like how they broke into the house of Tommy's house. Like, didn't the girl have a fucking key? And then they broke in.
I mean, maybe they just didn't have it with them.
Yeah. And then like they're like, okay, well, we broke in here to save you, but you're okay, so we're gonna leave you here again. So they go to the kids' house. You know, all those kids are pretty much dead by now. And they go in there. Somehow, in the meantime, Jason has hid all the bodies. And Rob decides to go downstairs. All right, to see if anything's happening in the basement, the dreaded 80s basement.
Yes.
And then Trish sees the dog. All right, run upstairs. And she's like, oh, fuck. So she goes to chase the dog. And she eventually sees the bathtub area. And she sees the 2 dead bodies in the bathtub area. She freaks out saying, hey, he's here. She goes down to get Rob. They like first go upstairs and then they go like back downstairs. So I guess maybe he saw Jason. Like somehow Jason was actually in the basement the whole time. So Rob decides to fight Jason and he just gets his ass whipped.
He does.
Like, what if like the revenge story was not there? Okay.
The revenge story was not there.
He is
he just got destroyed.
Epic fail for our boy Rob here.
Yeah.
And he didn't even get any booty. I was like,
it did not go the way he thought this plan was going.
No. What was his plan? Like,
his plan was to kill Jason, but obviously he was a complete nincompoop at that, and that was not going to happen.
All right, so he got his ass whipped. Trish is freaking out now. She tries to leave, but Jason tries to grab her through the floor. I thought that part was pretty cool. She eventually escaped. They got this girl running a lot though. Like she ran all the way home. All right, tells Tommy board up the doors. They must not know the superpowers that we'll see here soon. So They're trying to board up the doors and lock the windows. And Jason just flickers Rob's dead body through the fucking window, which I always thought those parts are cool in the Jason series where they just take the dead bodies and throw them through the window.
Throw them through the window.
Yeah. So then, of course, Jason, he pops out of the window and he grabs Tommy. And then Trish, she uses the back of the hammer to knock him out for 1 second. So like, it's not even like a cut where he's breaking to the front door, throwing an axe at her. Like Jason's basically no-selling everything. Right,
at this point, we've already lost everything we've had in 2 and 3, where he'd get hit and at least make a noise. Where he'd be like, ugh.
No. Like you can hit him with
not
everything.
Anymore. He's just selling everything.
Like we're saying, like we're saying on number 2. You know, it was weird to see at this time, like Jason, he was just getting flickered by anything. He would just fall down.
Yeah.
And constantly falling down, you know, being more realistic. This guy, this Jason right here, brother, ain't nothing stopping him right now. And it's only going to get crazier. So, So they go up to they lock a room. All right. They go upstairs and they put a bookcase in front of the room. Jason breaks into it. There's a Shining gimmick where he breaks through the fucking door. Okay. So, by the way, Tommy also read some of Rob's notes about Jason, by the way. That's going to come up later. So, they get out of there, and this is when they don't get out of this, so they start fighting Jason a little bit, and they actually knock Jason out. Okay? And, because Trish takes an old school tube TV and throws it on fucking Jason's head. All right.
Okay. Well, those things were heavy.
Yeah. Just threw it out of his fucking head. And her plan was, hey, Tommy, you just run. And he's probably still alive because, you know, I did my 80s research at the time. And he's probably still alive, you know, through a tube TV on his head. So just run, keep running and keep running. And it's like, okay. So she goes out there. Jason's awake, tries to stab her. Tommy runs, but he doesn't run all the way out of the house. And then this is when we get fucking Trish. She sprinted, bro. Like, all the way to the fucking next house. Like, all the way upstairs, all the way to the next house. Jason chasing right behind her. Then she jumps out of the fucking window, very slow motion, gets up, and then runs back to the house. It's like, fuck. I mean, how many takes do you have to do that, man? No wonder she might have been fit after that scene, just fucking constantly running. All right, so now she's in the house, and she realizes that Tommy is still in the house. She did that for Tommy to run away. You know what I mean? But he didn't run away. Tommy does, so she's a little angry right now. And of course, we see Jason coming in there, starting to attack her. And this is when we get Tommy. He is now shaving his head.
Yes.
All right, being a little trickster over here. And we start seeing a big fight scene between Trish and Jason. Back and forth with the machete. First, Trish has the machete, and it gets knocked down. Then Jason gets it. He knocks the light down, and then he's basically on top of her. He's about to be choking her out. Then Tommy comes up next to her. Tommy's now looking like Jason, like what he's looking like as a kid. Mm-hmm. He did a little bit of makeup and cut his hair just in the right amount of time. Jason stares at his ass like, oh, that's kind of weird.
He gets motherfucking confused.
Yeah, just a little bit confused here. And he keeps saying Jason and Jason, and then eventually Trish comes up right behind him, uses the machete to cut his face, and this is when we get the mask off. Jason, the hockey mask off Jason, and he pretty much is looking like the disformed hillbilly that we saw from number 2 dream sequence, without the long hair
and the beard. He looks kind of like a Neanderthal in this movie.
Yeah. So he's masked off in the hair. He's all bloody and stuff. So now he's looking back, and now we got Tommy. He grabs the machete and fucking just cuts the back of Jason's head, like right like near his eye, and he like throws the machete right in like side of his face, right next to his eye. And then we have Jason's like slowly falling on the knife and everything to symbolize that he's actually being dead right now. And like we were saying earlier, all the scenes of the death scenes were super quick, like they all happened, they didn't linger. This is the only scene of a death scene that lingered. So, but that was done on purpose. They wanted to do it this way to have a big stamp on Jason's death. Like we saw all these other people dying quickly, but they want to have a big stamp on, like, yes, Jason is actually being killed right here, right now, on the scene.
Yeah, it's over. There'll never be another one of these.
Never. So that's a big Jason dying scene where he got tricked by young Tommy dressing like him as a boy. Trish hits him with the knife, then Tommy takes the knife and just raggles his head. But then they start hugging each other. All right, Tommy sees that Jason's fingers are still moving, so he takes the machete and just fucking machetes this motherfucker's. Pretty much, like, he had to cut his head off at least, or fucked his head up or something.
Yeah, he fucked him up. Like, he's cut him into pieces. Like, surely he's dead at this point, right?
Yeah. So,
which he is.
Yes. So now this is when we give 2 different endings. All right.
Yeah.
So which one should I do first? The canon one or the edited one?
No, let's do the canon one first.
Okay. So the canon one is she wakes up at the hospital like like number 1. And they're saying, hey, we got you out there in time, because of the shoulder, your shoulder will be okay. And she's like, you're not answering my question. It's like, okay, yeah, the boy's okay. And, the boy is doing okay. Tommy, he'll be okay. He had a couple of trauma and stuff, but he should be fine. He's like, well, can I see him? He's like, yeah, you can. So we see Tommy. He still has his hair all fucked up like Jason and everything, and he's sitting there, and then he gives her a hug. They all hug, and then you can see that there's some evil in his eye. He does the old Bret Hart, Roman Reigns stare when you give somebody a hug. He has some evil intentions, brother. Kind of like we would see couple years later in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, where it's implied that Daniel Harris's character is going to be like the new evil, or the evil has inherited her. A couple years before that, that's where we get Tommy, where the evil of Jason or something is supposedly inherited him. So that's how we get this ending from this one. And then the edited ending that they didn't use, they were thinking about using it, but they didn't, was it's the next morning. They all wake up. Tommy and Trish, they wake up. They can hear police sirens happening. Trish tells Tommy to go out to the police. She sees some water drip, which is kind of weird because there's two reasons why they couldn't use this ending, and I'll explain it in a second. She sees some water drip from the bathtub. She goes all the way up to the bathtub, and she sees her dead mom right there in the bathtub. And so we see Jason behind her about to swing at her, and it didn't happen. It was all just a dream. Okay. So that's the edited ending.
Yeah.
Now,
The canon ending is better, though.
Yeah, the canon ending is a little better. It kind of like leaves it open for more character development for the Tommy character. Okay.
True.
But yeah, after they get the hug and he looks on out, that's the end. That's it. Friday the 13th, man. It's all over.
It's all over.
So is our reviews.
What else
for September as well? This is it for September.
What else? Whatever are we gonna do next month?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like we promised a 2-month long Halloween extravaganza, talking every Friday the 13th movie in the 1980s. What are we gonna do since it's the final one?
You know what would be amazing if we could do for next month since there's no more of these Friday the 13th movies like we thought there was going to be.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It'd be really cool if they just made another one that had nothing to do with the other movies.
Bro, perfect. Yeah. I mean, apparently I got like a leaked copy of one we can do in October if you want to.
What is it?
It's called Friday the 13th. A New Beginning.
Oh, we're starting over again.
Yeah, we're starting over, brother. You know,
Let's do it.
See, the Friday, they knew we were doing this extravaganza.
Yeah.
And they're like, bro, like they promised like 2 months. So like we gotta
make enough of these.
We'll just restart the shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. We'll just start it over again. It's a new beginning. It's a new beginning.
Yeah.
It's a new month for us.
Yeah.
It's a new fucking beginning.
Yeah.
For Friday the 13th.
I mean, come on now. All right. We're gonna make it happen, man. All right, it's a new beginning, brother.
Yep, absolutely.
So, but you know, we are gonna bring back a certain character of New Beginning, one named Tommy.
We are.
We're gonna have the Tommy saga coming up there in October, brother.
Yeah. Tommy does come back and play an important role.
You know, we got to keep his character. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I told him at the studio, like, you know, at least keep somebody from the original 4.
Exactly. And you know, and honestly, going down the road, if it weren't for Tommy's stupidity, these movies would have ended a lot quicker.
Yeah. So there you go, brother. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. Friday the 13th, the final one. All right, the final chapter.
Final chapter.
Until next week when we come back with another one. But I thought it was okay. You know, pretty good of the original 4, I guess, to end it off on. You know, I thought this one was this wasn't my favorite one out of the 4, but it was good. I liked it. It had a lot of good parts to it.
I have a soft spot in my heart for this movie because those first 4 Friday movies to me are I remember them coming out and a lot of people watching them before I watched horror movies. In a way, like I would start watching horror movies like right when Part 4 came out, so 1984. So I was like 9 years old or whatever. So like I remember them coming out and being terrified of them until I started watching them, and I'm like, oh, and then it became like this, you know, like a trusted friend, I guess you could say. So I love these first 4 movies because even if they're bad, I love them just because of how they make me feel when I watch them again. And I haven't watched them in a long, long time, so I'm getting that feeling again. Like as we're watching these, I feel like I'm reliving time, and it's pretty amazing for me. Yeah, actually,
it's definitely fun. We had a very fun month here in September, talking the original 4 Friday the 13th movies. Definitely fun, but you know, it moves on, brother. Going into October, we're going to be talking about some more Friday the 13th film, and of course we have a special Halloween review we're doing too. Plus we have a special Lights Out coming in the October too. So October's gonna be a big month, brother. All right.
Yeah, it only gets bigger from here. You thought that September was amazing because we were starting Halloween a month early. Nah, October's gonna be fucking great.
It'll be crazy, bro. We got so much shit to do. It's gonna be great. We got a couple more retro boat shorts coming out.
Yep.
We got By the way, check out the YouTube channel, everybody. Got the Retro Blood shorts on there. Got a couple clip bites from each episode on there as well, too. Check out the Instagram page where you can see the happenings of what's happening with the Retro Blood, and, of course, the Facebook page as well. We're on Threads as well, too, even though I haven't really done too much on there, but we're on there as well, too. Follow us on there for discussions. And, of course, we will be back here next week with Friday the 13th, a new beginning. Starting a new beginning of a new month for us in October. October of 2023 is here, brother. I can't wait.
Woo! Cannot wait. Let's do it.
But let's get out of here with some Venom, brother. How about we do the song Cry Wolf? Because, bro, there are so many people crying wolf in this fucking film. All right? My boy Jimmy, all right? Thinking he was a dead fuck, even though he has a stack. Fucking, he fucking get that girl Tina. He gave her the best 5 minutes of her life. Okay, Rob was crying wolf, trying to find his sister who only got killed like 2 days earlier, and he found out he's there for a year. He was crying wolf, trying to kill Jason, and of course Trish.
Then the wolf shows up.
Yeah, the wolf shows up, kills his ass in like 2 seconds. Trish, we probably won't see again, but you know she was there. So there you go, brother. Make it happen. Crying wolf. So. James Kline, Jay Alison, we will see you guys here for our Halloween, October, next month.
See you guys.